I'm scared about going to white barbers. I had one white dude do it once, and I was like, no, you can't. I can never. And he's like, am I going to see you again? And I'm like, ah.
To have an Italian experience with no mom is like, did you have one? Not really.
Mom took tweezers and was like, it's still good. We're like, it's not still good.
All right, we're ready? All right, let's do this. All right, I'm here with my brother Luke, who is also here for Christmas right now. And we did a Zoom interview. That was pretty good. It was Zoom though. I feel like chilling.
A year ago, right?
Yeah, but chilling in person is good. We haven't done it in person.
Nothing done in person.
So just if you want to just introduce yourself again.
So my name's Luke. I'm the youngest of the 5 siblings, so I definitely know the least about what's going on. Growing up, I just got told things, but
I raised you from...
Yeah.
Whatever you believed, you could definitely feed into me, and I'd be on your side.
I feel like
I didn't
it's...
know any better.
I think it's really shocking to be that much of an age gap, because
9
I'm
years.
turning 38
It's
in
9.
March.
The way I always remember it is when I was 7, Chris was 14, and then you're 2 older than that. I have like such a backwards way of remembering it, but
I didn't even...
so you're 9 years older.
So you're really rocking the like Mario Luigi mustache right now. I know it's feeling real Italian with your chains and stuff.
I've been getting a lot of compliments on the mustache lately.
I like the mustache. Okay, so let's just talk about some stories, some great family stories.
I remember Grandpa John a lot.
It's Dad's dad.
Dad's dad.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
He'd always pull up in his red Cadillac and just like,
yeah,
yeah, he had a red Cadillac, and in the summer we'd all be playing in the pool, and he'd just pull up and honk the horn and pop the trunk and wouldn't get out. And we just all knew. Mom was like, all right, kids, you gotta dry off. And yeah, and he would just wait with his arm out the window for the kids, like at the watermelon sound. We're like, you already gave us a watermelon this week. He's like, all right. He's like, just another one.
That he had popped the trunk and that.
We'd have to run out and get all the Freihoffers
Out of the trunk,
That's right.
even if we didn't want it. And he'd be like, it's good for you.
He knows what Freihoffers is.
Yeah, so
Freihoffers is a bakery, and he would go to the outlet and just clean up pound cakes. I'll never forget this one cake he brought over. We were so upset that he kept bringing the raisin cinnamon because we didn't want the raisin. Yeah, we're like, just, and Mom's like, please just get the regular one, not the raisin. So the next week he comes over, it's raisin. We're like, all right, we'll bring it to church. Or we'll like cut around the raisins. And have somebody pick at it until it's finally thrown out. So finally he doesn't bring the raisin. And we're like, oh, all right, this is our chance. It was like some sort of like chocolate cake, like chocolate mousse or whatever. And so any packaging is just like the cardboard, then the clear plastic on the top. And it was 1,000,000% positive. You could see a huge gray hair over the chocolate. And it's like,
inside the box?
like right, you could see it, like you pick it up off the shelf.
It wasn't his. It was from...
No, it was packaged. And we're like, for you to pull that one off the shelf and not realize, like, we opened it and Mom took tweezers and was like, it's still good. We're like, it's not still good. I'll never forget it. And he's asking us if we ate it, and we're like, mm-hmm.
It's so good.
I swear, I'll never forget that gray hair.
Grandpa, like I was talking to Chris earlier about it, but like to me, so that's our dad's dad. Was super Italian. Like there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, we were forged in the olive oil of Italy. Like that is who we're.
100%.
And like, but like Mom's side, I don't know. Like we just knew it wasn't the same. What do you remember about him now, like as an adult, where you're like, okay, he was an Italian grandpa? Or like, do you feel like now looking back, we didn't really have an Italian experience when you're interacting with other people? Like,
I think it was hard because we didn't have his wife, Marie, around in our lives.
That's true. So dad's parents divorced when he was a kid.
I didn't really know that growing up. I
Just like, I guess there's just one of them. Like, especially
just,
when you're the youngest. I was like, I didn't know we were supposed to get 2. So we never had like the full experience.
That's such a good point.
I never really remember learning a lot from him, which is unfortunate because I was so young, and by the time I got to be like old enough, he was already too old.
No, that's such a good point because Daniel and I have talked about this before of how like if the mom in the Italian family is such a force. And so like to have an Italian experience with no mom is like, did you have one? Not really.
It was different. Like he would
not-
take us out to eat and do a few things and make sauce, but it wasn't like
Like the classic Sunday dinners.
You weren't like having a experience of like going to your Italian grandparents' house.
Not
Like we
quite.
definitely didn't have that.
No.
Which is unfortunate, but that's just how you grew up with it. So But I do remember Dad doing a lot of cooking, like cooking the sauce. And
Eat that, but that sauce came from a Polish lady at our church. I found out yes.
see, no one tells me these.
Clearly Peachy from church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, she's Polish.
Okay.
She married into an Italian family. She
She's
taught
completely Polish. She doesn't
that's
have any.
that's what
That's just like
this is
telling-
this is the tea that I got. Okay. She taught Dad how to make sauce. I find out in my 20s, Dad's making sauce, but it's what a Polish lady taught him. Like, is it good? Yeah. But where?
Wow.
So I don't know where you thought that
So now
sauce.
my dad's homemade Italian sauce is.
Well, don't tell him. We'll see if he's really watching.
It's a good test, litmus test for him.
It's a test for Dad.
No, I never knew. That's the first.
So good. Well, I'm pretty sure it's what Mom told me.
I mean,
Yeah, so I feel like we didn't have a thing where it was like we're doing all these Italian things because I feel like your one step is you're an American, so you feel like you don't have a connection to stuff. But then there are Italian Americans who are like so immersed in this, and I thought I was.
very Italian, like through and through.
But I don't even feel like we have that. I'm like, I feel like when I'm seeing other families, I'm like, okay, so you guys learned Italian, and you guys like
Yeah. Oh, we
are wearing a lot of gold chains that I didn't know that we need. You know what I
Speaking
mean?
of gold chains, I like embarrassingly recently found out what an Italian horn was. I thought everyone just had a regular chain, and then it was like, oh, nice Italian horn. I was like, what is that?
Oh no.
It was like too recent.
So I just won't tell you when. But we did have like a lot of pieces missing of that.
We had a ton. There's a ton. I feel like there's a lot that is like there's a universal experience of just like very loud family event. Like everything's super loud. There's yelling, there's laughing, there's fights.
Hand gestures.
There's a lot. But I don't feel like we really had that. I don't know. I just took for granted. I thought, okay, well, Dad's Italian. We already got that checked off. Let's look into Mom's stuff. And then I'm like, wait a second. Dad's stuff.
One of the weirdest things when we were asking about her childhood or like how they met.
Mom's?
Yeah,
What she said?
Ellen, our mother. Like I remember our sister Laura and I asking her stuff because like we found her old yearbook,
Oh, yeah.
and we're just like kind of talking about like history and like what they grew up with and how they like met each other. And we were like, how did you guys meet and all this stuff? And she said one really weird thing. We kind of make fun of her for a little
don't know
bit.
what it is.
But she goes, I don't really remember much before meeting your dad. And I was like, what? She's like, I don't know. I just, we met early in life and that's what I remember.
Really? Yeah.
I was like, your childhood? And so we were driving past Country Barn Road where she grew up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then one time she was like, oh, I rode my horse through there. I'm like, you had a horse?
Sandy.
Me.
Isn't that weird?
She had a horse.
Mom doesn't seem like a person.
She
with a
doesn't
horse.
talk about it.
I know.
So I was like, how much more do I have to ask to find
Yeah.
out?
I think she's hiding it. Or
No.
I think it's just
Mom, I feel like Mom,
she doesn't.
one of Mom's like I think it's a good thing. The way Mom is operating most of the time is that she doesn't worry about looking back too much. Like she's looking forward or she's in the moment in a good way. She's happy. She's like, look,
Right.
it's all good right now. Like we're good. And like she doesn't have to look back and assess a lot. Like I'm back like this, like, and then whatever.
Right.
That's a problem too, I think, in some ways. But I think she's just like,
You
that's
might
this.
just live in the present.
It's over.
Not
Like,
To protect us or anything.
but I feel like since I love history and I love family history, I'm like, well, Mom, we need to go back more in 2 weeks. Like
A little bit.
We need
So
something.
she had, and it's weird because like her sister, when I talked to Nancy for like all the Finding Lola stuff, like
Nancy.
she had tons of stuff. So Kathleen, and they're like, your mom would notice. And I'm like, well, Mom never told me any of that
I would
stuff.
not.
Talking to the aunts, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, your mother used to do that. I'm like, dude, what?
I know. Isn't that crazy?
And I just never really heard about it.
It's so crazy. So did you I know we'll come back to Dad, but like just to hang on Mom for a second. So we talked
Sure.
about it on Zoom, but just since we're here in person, like you thought we grew up being Mom's French Irish. I think it's totally believable still. Like I still believe it.
Yeah.
When Daniel, like my husband, when he first started coming around to hang out, he told me that my mom had a Mexican face. And I was
Like immediately, like first.
yeah,
glance.
because his dad's Mexican. Like he's like Mexican, Puerto Rican. It's like your mom.
knee-jerk reaction's usually pretty accurate.
And I was like, no, she's not. And he has been saying it for years. And so anyway, it's just been weird to see like, and it's not like a lot, but it's like he immediately was like, but I will tell you something. When I was a little kid and I'd get picked up at school by Mom and I would see Mom come in and I would see the other moms at Loudonville.
Mhm.
And I'd always be like, Mom just has such a different special face. And it made me really happy. I'm like, she doesn't look like any of the other moms for the most part. And now I'm like, that's because mom, mom didn't even know.
Oh.
Mom didn't know anything.
But I never really bought the rest part because I like almost loved the rallying cry of just being Italian.
Rallying cry.
Yeah, and our dad would always say like the Romans conquered the world and we're like the best. We have the best genes and the best blood. And even when COVID came around and he never got it once, he was like, it's because that's pure blood. And he's like, they're going to study me like in iRobot or the Will Smith movie where everyone gets sick except him. He's like, I have the antidote.
That's sick.
And I'm just like, that's what I grew up with. So I'm like, all right.
Oh, I know what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Okay, so
So when I first took the DNA test, 23andMe with dad,
23andMe.
I took it with dad and mom, so they're both my parents. I don't know, I can't speak for you, but they're definitely both my. I'm just saying they're both my parents.
That's enough for me.
I had from dad 15% Egyptian and then some Iranian or Iran. I don't know how to say Iranian.
15% Egyptian.
Well, if I am, let me. So I did it. So that would make it was on dad's side because mom took the test too. So it tells you like this stuff comes from here, this stuff comes from your mom, this is your dad. So that would have made dad 30% Egyptian. Like when I first took this test, and like it updates and it changed and it went away. But like you were in Egypt recently. We talked this a little bit. Can you just tell me about being in Egypt and like how it felt for you? Because it's like
Egypt was great.
It was definitely an experience. Totally third world. Like we had security the whole time. We had a guy with a gun
But
like
did you
following
need
us. We needed it. I almost got into a couple of situations like I made it out alive, but it was definitely scary at times. So I was glad I had like other people with me and we had a tour guide that spoke the language. But just going through the streets, and it's pretty obvious we're in a tour, like in a group.
Yeah, well, you're.
And like I'm happy about that because like they don't want to mess with the
Yeah,
tourists
yeah.
so much. But they would call me out thinking I'm Egyptian. And I'm like, no, they're like, okay, Turkish. I'm like, no. And they're like, okay. But then what is
Tell
it?
us.
Yeah. They're like, they're out of guesses after that. So like, people definitely came up to me and just started speaking. And I'm just like, ugh.
You did have the beard.
at the beard.
The facial hair can change a lot.
It does change.
I always think it's kind of like makeup, like when girls have
Yeah,
makeup.
it is.
Like I could put on a beard or a mustache or nothing.
Put it on or take it off.
It just takes a couple weeks,
I'm
but
gonna
yeah,
put a picture of you up with the beard because it does. It looks totally different.
completely different.
Well, so what happened with dad's thing is then
30% though.
well it like then it like updates and then it just turned to broadly Southern Italian, but it's like
That's close to.
but it's like it's all well the thing's like it's all in the same area. It's like this big. It's like these
Crescent.
thing. Yeah, the Ferrell Crescent. So so I just thought it was weird that like you went there and had so many people just assuming that you were like from there.
Yeah.
Especially if you dress like the same way. Oh my gosh.
I would like to go there.
Egypt was great.
But like Chris was talking about like how he felt like he belonged in Italy, and I don't think that you're gonna
I did
have
not
that.
feel like I belonged in Egypt for 1 second. I knew for sure I was American and was just counting down the days, but it was definitely an experience. And we tan well,
Yeah, we do.
but it's not an even distribution. So like if you're 15%, I'm definitely not exactly
Well, I
15.
don't know. Maybe the update now is.
But
different.
think about our brother Justin. Like we always say he's probably the whitest one.
No.
He's not.
Justin's the white of the 5 siblings.
No way. Well, you have to think about going outside. Like I literally, I don't even go outside anymore because I'm trying not to. I'm almost 40. I can't get it. I'm afraid of wrinkles.
But if you did go outside,
Justin would tan the least. He would go get like Zoom tan or something.
What's a Zoom?
It's like the tan booth.
You're supposed to say that.
You can cut that part out. But he would even admit it. He would admit it. And so
Okay, but you know what? No wrinkles. No wrinkles. Okay, I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have even thought about it. I would have said everybody is equal.
no, but it's not. It's not.
That's right. It's true. People don't get the exact amount.
It's never
That's
exact
true.
and even distribution.
No,
It
that's
just never
true.
gives it perfectly half-half.
That's true.
it's never like that.
That's true.
So Justin had, I think he got more like of the French. And we got more of the Italian.
There wasn't a lot of.
French to get.
Never was in that high. They're like, you're gonna have it.
There wasn't a lot. He got all of our French.
But
And I feel like Dad and you would tan the easiest if you had the chance to get
Yeah,
outside.
if I was outside.
And Grandpa would be brown.
Yeah,
With the lake
Grandpa-
house in
yes.
Sacandaga.
Dad's
yeah,
dad. Dad's dad. I'm gonna have to find a picture of him. Literally, I have seen him in Florida where he's standing next to someone who identifies African American. Grandpa is way darker than this person, but I'm like, this guy's Italian. I'm suddenly like, none of this makes any sense. Not like the family does, but to say grandpa's a white man, it's like this guy's 10 shades darker than this black man. I'm like, this is all
So is-
stupid.
Grandpa 100% Italian.
He's Well,
How-
he didn't take. Okay, here's the thing. I don't know if it came from dad's mom or dad's like what or dad's
Marie.
dad. If it's from Marie, yeah, because I don't know. Um, I'm assuming. I don't know. Grandpa got really really dark. I mean,
You
like
think you put on sunscreen?
no,
Do you think that like?
no. He was dark already. I think he. I don't
But
know.
you would never burn her.
No, never. I've never seen a person who you would say is white be that dark
That many
with that kind of hair. Like you would never, but it's like you were raised to say, well, and that's fine, whatever, you're raised as and you want to
Speaking
do
of him
that.
going to Florida, I do remember one funny thing is that he had the red Cadillac in
Yeah.
Latham.
Yeah.
And then he had the exact same red Cadillac in Florida.
He bought two.
So he would fly down and have the exact same car, yes. And I wanted the red Cadillac so bad because he was like getting like old and I had just become 16. I was like ready to drive. I was like, there's no reason that can't be my car. And Dad's like, no chance you're getting the red
Oh,
Cadillac.
the caddy. Get the
Yeah.
Caddy. I wonder, like, I wish Grandpa was alive so I could sit down and like ask him some of this stuff. How many people are realizing like they also have stuff where they're like either they were told a thing and it's totally not true, like
Right.
totally not true. So we have that from mom's side, total lies, or just B, you're an American and you're like, okay, my grandparents are dead and now I don't know anything. And it's like it's gone. It's like totally gone. Like what are you gonna pass on to your kids?
Let me ask you something. Did this all start when you were doing your master's degree at Vanderbilt? Didn't you do like an ancestry like project or something? That's where it all started.
No.
Where did this all start? When you started digging?
I think no. I think it's
remember-
no. And then really, honestly, it was when when Grammy
We
died.
found out after the 23andMe.
Oh, all that stuff.
Isn't that how we found out?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff we found out, and I'm like, and I wanted to save as much as Grammy would share, which was not
She's
all of that. Grammy could have easily had an experience if she had been in a different family of identifying as black. And it's like if your grandma's identifying as black,
Actually, growing up in the South.
what is if she was in the South, especially if your grandma's identifying as black, what does that mean for you? Like, are you like, and what does that mean? And it's like, and obviously our family has like been marrying like mom married an Italian, right? And she
And she
just
never talked about it once. The first time I'm starting to hear about it is stuff.
Just from you, because she never talked about it.
How do you feel when you think about it?
I do feel a little slighted that she didn't tell us anything. How old do you think she was? She was the fifth of six. So do you?
Or mom?
Our mom's the fifth of six, so she probably didn't know so much if she's that young.
know. I mean,
Don't you
she
think
knew
your
her grandmother.
Uncle Frank
He's the oldest, right? Don't you think some of that would have trickled down?
Yeah, I think people know stuff. Well, that's the thing when I started talking to mom's siblings, everybody had a piece that was helpful enough that like came in like Nancy. I know I told you, but like Nancy was saying like Uncle Al, like Alphonse, like Grammy's brother, that like where he would go, people would just assume he was like Indian or black and they'd just be like, haha. And it's like, that doesn't happen. Like, okay, why do you think that's happening? Like
Yeah.
what nobody, but everyone I feel like is so, I don't know. There's not a lot of desire. There was not a lot of desire, I think, for people to like be like, let's find out
To
what's
dig
going
deeper.
on. Like, I don't know what it is.
Why do you
but-
think no one wanted to dig deeper?
well, I think because one, being black during any of these times, like you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like you're especially in Louisiana, like you've got nothing. You're screwed.
It's weird to think about how different it could have been.
Yeah. And it's like you're the same person. Though.
Yeah, but nothing's different about you. But it
Nothing's
could have been
different.
completely different just about like the stereotypes of things.
And
And again, like I feel like I don't know, I feel like white is a stupid thing too. Because I'm like, okay, well,
What's that even mean?
well, it's like if white looks like grandpa does, like white doesn't mean anything.
I had this one girl in math class one time. We were kind of, I don't know why we were talking about it, but somebody was like, Maureen can't weigh on this. She's white. Or she goes, Maureen can't weigh on this. She's Caucasian. She goes, no, I'm not. I'm white. And I was like, this is pretty misunderstood, like widely. Yeah. Yeah, like, so for us to even talk about that, like at a bigger level, it's true that even if it's all the same, or even it's just never perfectly even. Like if we did the 23andMe, it's not going to be 15%
Well, you
Egypt.
know
It's
what
not
else?
going to be the
Like, my
same.
hair-
Hair's relaxed, but you and I have like really coarse hair, really wiry, coarse hair.
I'm scared about going to white barbers. So in Florida, I go to this Cuban guy
you do.
every time. I had one white dude do it once, and I was like, no, you can't. I can never. And he's like, am I going to see you again? And I'm like, So I have to go to this one Cuban dude, and he like mumbles his English, and he can speak it, but every time I'm just like, oh, I'm like, cero, and then finger length, and then like he knows, but sometimes they just screw with you. They're like, they'll speak like broken English if they don't want to talk to you.
No, that's for real. I would always want to go to somebody that I would just say, like, kind of like in passing, I would say, like, could cut black people hair. Like, that's it.
I remember it would get nappy.
Yeah.
I do remember this one thing going into church, and I don't know why, but Dad would like pet my hair down a little bit, and he'd be like, it's super nappy or like wavy.
Yeah.
And then other people would come and do it and just do this to me. And I'm like 4, and I'm like, I guess this is normal. But I think Dad was like almost singling me out, like this is like the thickest hair. Because like Lauren's was not, Justin's was straight, and ours is the curl.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have it's not like the same breakdown.
It's never an even dish.
I'm paying hundreds of dollars to have wash and go hair right now, but I know it doesn't last.
I do remember one thing of Dad though, when we were cleaning out Grandpa's house after he passed, we're going through everything. And you just find old stuff. You're just kind of like having fun going through stuff. It's not really like a rush. And we found a picture of Dad at a basketball court, had an afro.
Dad has
Yes.
a real afro.
And we flipped it over, and it was something from the 80s.
Yeah, that's one.
And I was like, where does that come from?
Dad told me in his interview, he told me the word, he didn't want it in an interview, that he would get made fun of by when they left Troy and they moved to Latham. Latham was like farmland.
Yeah.
And he said it was like all, he was saying like, WASP kind of like white Anglo-Saxon. And so, he's moving in with Grandpa and Marie as his parents, and like he's there.
He was pretty young then.
He was pretty young, and he was saying that he would get bullied because they called him names because Dad was somehow too dark, and I don't even think I can say what it is. I'll tell
I
it
never
to you off
did that.
record. I'll tell it to you off record.
Okay. I'd like to.
I won't say them here, but they would call me John and stuff. And like that's Dad. So Dad has this experience of like okay, you're white Italian American, but like you're not whatever.
Either almost.
But isn't that crazy? So I just feel like that's why I'm so interested in this, because Mom has very diverse ancestry, but Dad would be considered, if you just saw on paper, this is a white American. It's like, but his experiences have been mixed. Like Dad always gets weird questions or he's and I'm just kind of like, wow, white doesn't mean anything.
I mean, every time it gets a little bit more and more mixed, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
every
like
generation.
Over 65.
Don't scroll past.
Insurances are limited.